Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are talking about Terminator Salvation. So, Kill, Coriander, this is it, man.
Yeah.
Kill, we've talked about this a lot of times over the years. We have officially ventured into dark territory. Let's get this thing going. Let's talk about this thing. Just to see who we have in the chat, we have Quasi in the chat saying hello, Nightwatch, lovely Corey, and the T10,000 Killian. Really didn't like this film other
Hey.
than the Terminator motorcycle, which was cool. Other than that, whatever. Okay. And we got Eric's in the chat saying, the wife and I left the theater unsure if we liked this or not. However, after a second view, when I bought the DVD, I liked it more than in my first watch. Films do that sometimes. It's a good
Yeah.
point. Very
Yeah.
good point. All right, so let's just get down to brass tacks, man. Kill. Let's start this thing off. First of all, quick take. We'll do quick takes first. Quick take for you, and then Coriander.
So should I talk in the Christian Bale tone? Should I
Please
talk
do.
like this? Okay. Christian Bale talks like this, or he screams. He has two modes in this movie. He talks like this, or he screams like this. Okay. You know, Eric, I agree with you. I hated this movie when it first came out, and it took me about 3 or 4 viewings to think that it was, decent. It's not a perfect movie in any way, shape, or form, but it does go, like Knight says all the time, into some dark territory, which is a breath of fresh air. Because if you think about it, this is the only, well, I would say, yeah, this is the only movie in the franchise that has this many Terminators in it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's also the only movie in the franchise that takes place in the future war.
All right.
So I give it early praise for that, but I digress.
Okay.
We'll continue.
All right. So Coriander, what's your quick take on this? And for you, Coriander, this is your first time ever watching it, just like last week when we reviewed T3. So what was your take on it? Quick take, that is.
Yeah. I like this movie. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it stayed true to the original idea of and plus, you got to see like the war against the machines. So
Okay.
that was pretty cool too,
All right. And in the chat, we've got the Wacky World Lounge is in the chat. What's going on, man? How you doing, saying I have legs. Good to have you, man. Good to have you. And we got the Myers fan in the chat. What's going on, man? Saying 1 through 3, enough said. I hear you, man. I hear you. And thanks for coming to the chat, man. New subscriber to the channel. And actually found us through our Halloween 2 episode, and some really cool stuff, really cool conversation that we're starting to have on that. Sasha Fred saying,
Nice.
I think the reason Arnold didn't reprise his role is because during the time he was still the governor. Yes, that's exactly right. He had his duties as the governor. So, yeah. All right, so let's talk about the story. Well, actually, my quick take on this is very similar to yours, Kill, and very similar to yours, Eric. When I first saw it, I was just kind of like, man, I don't know. There were good things about it and some things that didn't hit for me. Repeated viewings have lessened that a bit, and actually rewatching it for tonight's episode, I was like, man, and maybe that's because I've already analyzed the things I didn't like. So now I was just able to see the things that I did. And that's one thing I want to talk about tonight as well. What was good about it and what wasn't. So Kill, let's start this thing off with the story, any high points or where you want to start off from the beginning.
Okay. Well, it's funny. I mean, your two leads, Sam Worthington and Christian Bale, I should like Christian Bale more because he's John Connor.
Right.
And I love Christian Bale as an actor, but I just feel in this movie, like I said a little earlier, he's either yelling or he's whispering in his Batman tone. And there's no real middle ground. So it's like when I guess in my head, when I think of John Connor, I don't think of Christian Bale. I don't know who I think of, but I just don't feel it in this. You know,
Okay. All
I
right.
just don't. And then on the other hand, Sam Worthington and are we going into spoilers into
Oh
this?
yeah. Yeah, we're
Okay,
going into
well,
spoilers, man. We're going into deep discussion and the controversy and everything.
okay. Sam Worthington, at this time when this movie came out, they were really trying to push him in Hollywood. Whether it was
Yep.
Avatar, Clash of the Titans, you know, it was some other stuff, but they were really pushing him. And
Hmm.
I've never been the biggest fan of him, you know, nothing against the guy,
Hmm.
but I enjoyed him and his character in this way
Yeah.
more than John Connor, played by Christian
Absolutely.
Bale. So as you were asking, I mean, it starts off and we see, you know, a lot of the future writing, you know, of things that are going on in the future. But then you also see the past, and you see Sam Worthington, and he's a prisoner.
Right.
And you're wondering, okay, obviously he's a pretty bad guy because he's on death row,
Right.
and he's about to be terminated.
Mhm.
And you have Helena Bonham Carter in here, who kind of works for Cyberdyne,
Cyberdyne.
and says, hey, you know, you're a piece of shit, but hey, do you want to do something good for humanity? You know, sign over your
Right.
body and this and that. You know, and as the viewer, and I definitely want to hear what Coriander thinks.
Mhm.
When around my first viewing, I was like, okay, what is going on here? What does this have to do with, you know, the Terminators? And
Mhm.
I thought this was a high point because, okay, they're doing something different. And me as a
Mhm.
Terminator fan, I don't know what the hell is going on, and I kind of like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Real quick too, before I get to you, Coriander, I want to get to the chat. Wacky World says, "I saw Salvation at a cheap theater at the beach, but I enjoyed it much more than 3." All right.
Nice.
Um, Myers fan says, "I agree with Coriander. I did like that we finally got to see the war." Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Slasher Fred saying the Skynet is the movie reminds me of the character HAL 9000 from the movie 2001. Yeah. Flamethrowers in the chat saying John had some durable cassettes. They were at least 40 years old. That's a good point,
Right?
man. Very good point.
Tapes last forever if you take care of them.
Eric says, I never understood the beginning and end with Sam Worthington and Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, you know, I think okay, first, Coriander, I want you to give your points or follow up what Killian said, and then I want to drop a little bit of a bomb to answer this thing about how Marcus was characterized versus Connor. So I'll let you go, Coriander.
Well, the beginning, obviously, I was confused too as to who is
Mm-hmm.
this guy? You know,
Right.
what does he have to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I don't know. I enjoyed his character. You know,
Yeah, Marcus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. We did
and
too. We've talked about how
oh
okay, so he
man,
signs over his body. He's part of an experiment. He gets the lethal injections, and then the movie basically just cuts to Connor coming onto the Skynet base, you know, to do a mission. It goes haywire, but before that, they go underground in the tunnels and so forth, and they see you know, the prototypes for the T-800s, and of course he knows that the T-800s, what they are, you know, because that's Arnold's model from the other movies and so forth. So he barely escapes. They have that one scene when he tried to get away in the helicopter and it crashed, and you have that one Terminator that is cut in half coming after him. That was specifically an homage to Sarah's finale in the first movie. That was done on purpose. As a matter of fact, McG, the director, had the cast and the crew watching the first 3 movies and trying to pick out parts that they would kind of, you know, homage to or whatever. Good idea, and yet kind of like, okay, well, you know, just do a movie and let that stuff come in organically is how I feel about it. But this is the one thing I want to throw out there, and we do have a couple of fun facts or talking points, but this is the one that I want to throw out there to you guys. Um, Bale was to play Marcus. Okay, so originally Mick G had envisioned that Christian Bale was going to play Marcus. Okay, and no one else was cast at that point. But Christian Bale said he would rather play John Connor. So he wanted to play John Connor. So because of that decision, they had to make a bunch of rewrites to expand John Connor's character in the movie. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? So that explains why Connor's story was so much more secondary than Marcus's, because originally this was going to be more of Marcus's story, and Connor was just kind of, a figure in the background, so to speak. You know what I mean? Does that, and especially for you, Kill, because we've watched this movie a bunch of times, we've talked about this movie dozens of times over the years. Does that show what well, I don't want to say, well, yeah, the mistake. It shows why we like Marcus more than we like John, because Marcus was already more of a fully written character.
Right, and it's evident. I mean, even though Christian Bale said, "Hey, John Connor is the hero of this story. It's Sarah Connor's son. I want to play that." For whatever reasons, maybe he just found that the lore of that character better, and he felt he could bring something to it. Mm-hmm. But this still is Marcus's movie. Right. I mean, regardless of that, because the John Connor stuff, it's just him in a helicopter going down there and blowing stuff up. Him back at HQ. Him leaving HQ. Him interrogating Marcus. Him fighting a T-800. That's it. Marcus is like a father figure to Kyle Reese. Marcus saves John Connor on numerous levels, surgical and just, adventure saving him. Marcus saves the pilot and builds a relationship with her. So Marcus is all over the place, man. Yeah. Like, this is his movie. Yeah. And John Connor, like, every scene that was there, he felt more like a machine than Marcus did.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of that, Coriander?
Yeah, I agree. Christian Bale in this, I mean, like you all said, this is Marcus's movie, and it just shows it, and and like you said, Christian Bale, you're so funny, because every time I think of him now, all I do think of is Batman when I hear him. So I'm sorry, but it's true.
Okay, and also real quick too, in the chat we've got let's see, we got Phil's creepy videos in the chat saying, "Hey there, horror fans, it's your buddy Phil. What's going on, Phil? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing well."
Right.
And Myers fan says, "I will say that I like Kate Brewster and Connor in this film more than I did in T3. In T3, Kate was annoying, and I almost wanted TX to kill her." No love for Claire Danes. Wacky World says, "Off but on topic. How deep in Terminator is your fandoms? Have you fine folks ever read the comics and such? The RoboCop versus Terminator is probably my favorite piece of the Terminator franchise." I've only heard about the RoboCop versus the Terminator comics and stuff, but I've never really read them. How about you guys?
I've read a few, but I guess I'm not on your level, Wacky World. You got us beat.
Yep. Eric says, "Sam makes Marcus really likable. Bale, like Killian said, just really yells and nothing else. You can't relate to him. Bale, character-wise, seems like a step down from Furlong and Stahl in that way." Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. Yeah, no, I definitely think so. And again, but and like I said, this was something that I either didn't remember knowing or didn't know, was the fact that originally Christian Bale was supposed to be starring in this movie as Marcus. Marcus was the story, and Connor was kind of in the background, doing whatever. And because Christian Bale chose to play John Connor, they had to do a lot of rewrites, and they tried to expand his character. And you can really tell. Another thing that we want to also say with that involved was that Christian Bale had turned this movie down 3 times. So he originally said he did not want to star in Terminator Salvation. And part of the reason that he finally agreed to it was almost because so many people were telling him, don't do it, and he wanted to prove them wrong. And that might have been also the reason why he wanted to play John Connor, is thinking, well, hey, I can make this work, and if I can make it work, that really shows my talent as an actor, basically a challenge to himself. So, what are you gonna do? But Kill, let's get more into the story here. Once Marcus reawakens or is reactivated, I should say, he is basically trying to figure out what's going on in the world. Sam Worthington said he thought his character was kind of like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Do you see that connection? And what did you think once he met up with Kyle Reese, played by the late Anton Yelchin?
Well, yeah, I do agree with that analogy because he, has been dead for some time and he has no idea what's going on. And in a way, it's almost comical how, I guess, new to the world he is. Like when he first sees a Terminator wearing like a trench coat, he's like, hey.
Yeah, he thought it was a person. Yeah.
And as the viewer, I'm like, shh, don't do that. Like, what are you doing? And of course, the Terminator does what Terminators do. Oh, a human? Good thing I got this minigun. Right. And he starts to shoot at him. But then you have a young Kyle Reese, which I think Anton Yelchin did a great job.
Absolutely.
Because I felt Michael Biehn in his performance.
That's what I was gonna say too. He had this. And obviously, hindsight is 2020, but he had this facial expression that reminded me so much of Michael Biehn, and even the way he talked and how he held his mouth, and I was like, man, he's doing a great homage.
He researched it.
He did. He definitely
did. And I'll say his version is better than other versions that may come down the road.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But yes, it was the way he used his facial expressions, the way that he kind of, and you guys, if you know Michael Biehn, from Aliens and this and that, he has kind of a way that he moves his mouth.
Yes.
Maybe it's like a slight southern drawl or something like that, but it's very distinct.
Yeah, it is.
And Anton picked up on that stuff. He truly did his research. So I feel him playing a young Kyle Reese who's not in the resistance yet, and he even said, like, why don't you have this coat? He was like, I haven't earned it, dude.
Come in over in one of these. Because I haven't earned mine yet.
And that is such a Kyle Reese thing to say.
Yes,
go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on that, but I just want to say, Anton Yelchin was a ray of sunshine in this movie, and it is so sad that he is gone because I think he had such great talent. But he was great in this movie, and even though he didn't have a whole bunch of lines, every time he was on screen, I was invested. And I think, like you said, that line when he said, I haven't earned it yet. And it was almost like you could feel the weight of being a survivor of Judgment Day, being on the run and being without a home and without a family, and also what he will eventually become. You know what I'm saying? And I thought it was that was the one character I think they got right. And it was the right actor, and it was the right vibe throughout the movie. I really appreciated his performance. Real quick, before I get to you, Coriander, I want to just jump in the chat. Crypta's in the chat saying, I'm busy, but came to hit the like. Sounds like a good review. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. All right. Very, very appreciative. Let's see. Sasha Fred says, if you ever seen the trailer to RoboCop from 1987, the music being played is the music from The Terminator. RoboCop is so good, man. I'm telling you. Myers fan says, not to suck up, but this podcast show is a breath of fresh air. I like the format and I love the name. I'll be here every week. Well, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate that. We really
awesome.
Do. That's awesome, man. And welcome to the community. A lot of great people in this chat and also in the comment sections. So definitely, keep in touch, man. We've had a few comments back and forth on Halloween, and I know you love Halloween. You have a great name, by the way, yourself.
Yeah, you do.
Eric says, Anton was amazing. He was literally a young Michael Biehn. Kid had talent, sorely missed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So when did he die? I didn't even know that
he died
maybe about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, like 4 years ago. Yeah, there was an accident in his house.
Yeah.
Sad accident.
Damn.
Yeah. And he was actually good in the Star Trek movies too, man. I liked him as a young Chekhov. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Fred said this was the final Terminator movie Stan Winston had worked on, and actually, yeah, we were going to talk about that too. So definitely one of the greats of all time, Stan Winston, absolutely. Flamethrower said, "How did y'all like Michael Ironside in this? He plays a hard ass better than almost anyone." Look,
Yeah,
especially for me and Kill. Anytime Ironside's in something, we're gonna watch it. Okay,
Yep.
That's just a deal that we've got. Michael Ironside is always good. You know, he's just always
Scanners brought me onto him, and
yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
But when he met Kyle Reese and Kyle Reese was kind of showing him how this world was. Coriander, I'm assuming you agree that you really enjoyed those scenes and how Anton portrayed a young Kyle Reese, right?
Oh, definitely. I thought he was really good. And this little kid that he was taking care of, I mean,
yes.
Come on. It just shows what type of a person he is. He's a good person.
That's a good point.
So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah. He has, he's a tragic hero, but he's always had a good heart, and it makes sense that he would be the father of John Connor. Of course, it's all time wacky stuff. How does that really work? But it makes sense.
Exactly. Right.
Between the goodness that he has and the goodness
Yeah.
of Sarah. But Kill, once we get to let's get to the meat and potatoes of it all, okay?
Okay.
The bottom line is Kyle gets taken by Skynet. They want to capture him. They know what's going on. They're after John Connor as well. They talked about that kill list. Ironside and the guys on the submarine talked about this kill list, and Connor, you're number 2. And he says, who's number 1? And they said, someone named Reese, Kyle Reese. So we know the situation. Ironside, again, let me just give him some credit here. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Right?
A legend. But so he's off to try to save Reese, but then he runs into some trouble and then kind of gets caught up with the resistance. And he meets Moon Bloodgood first, because she was stuck in a tree after she had to bail from her aircraft. What did you think of the movie at this point? How it turned?
Well, I mean, on first viewing, you still didn't know that Marcus was a Terminator, or we don't even know what model, or look, Skynet just has so many design things out there. We don't know what else is in cold storage. But yeah, I enjoyed this because once again it shows, his character. He's like, he wants to save Kyle and the little young kid he was with, and now he's like, okay, well, let me help her. She's stuck in one of these antennas, and he saves her. And so once again, he is or at least in another life was a bad guy. But you do see he has morals, he has codes. He saves her from these guys who are gonna try to rob her or rape her, or worse, maybe eat her, who knows. And she has a great line to them, and she just says it so cool. It's like, look guys, the fight is against the machines. Come on, don't be an asshole, because I'll kill you. Okay, because she's badass, But I enjoy, sometimes in movies when you have the main character have these little offshoots, it doesn't work. I felt it worked in this because, like we said earlier, this is Marcus's movie, and they're building up to show you all the levels of his humanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before there's the turn. Yes. And it's just like, oh, wait a second. Was all that part of programming? Did they program you to be that human, that good, that nice?
And that's, and that's definitely something. Yeah, and that's definitely something near the end of the movie that you question, and I wanted to bring that up as well, because it is, I think, it's a pivotal thing. And again, you can tell that this was written to be the star of the movie. So anyways, but
I liked his character a lot. It almost reminded me of the models in Blade Runner. They thought they were humans, and and there were even parts of this where it was like one scene where he was somewhere, and it looked like he could have been in Blade Runner. It was a great scene, and yeah, I just like Marcus's character a lot.
Absolutely. Eric was saying loved Reese in this. Didn't know why he needed a mute sidekick though. Yeah, well,
because she was so cute.
She was cute.
Maybe it was so that he would have something. Well, I don't know. Who knows why? But we also have Patrick.
To show even then that he had heart.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Something like that to show his tenderness. And that he is a protector, even as a young man, he was always a protector. Patrick's in the chat too. What's going on, Patrick? We got Dan in the Patrick. Hey guys, long time no see, Patrick.
Hey.
And I also liked how when Reese was like, we bury ours, who's gonna bury you? You know what I mean? That shows you there too that he's a good guy, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But Kill, once we get to, let's get to the other part of this too, is that when he was heading to the Resistance, because he wanted to be able to find Kyle, and Blair was saying, well, if you need information, Connor's the one you've got to talk to. So they go there, and then it was a great scene when that mine, gets magnetized right onto him, and it's like, what? As soon as you saw that, you're like, wait a minute, okay. And then, the great scene where he's tied up, and obviously John Connor is there talking to him and so forth. What did you think of that scene?
I thought it was a really good scene. That scene made me kind of rethink my thought on Sam Worthington's acting, because he truly, all he knows is that he's a human. Hypothetically, if that happened to one of us, you find out all this time you've been, a robot, you would freak out too. Right, so I felt bad for him, because I'm like, okay, this poor dude has, been walking around maybe 2 days now, and now on top of all the other things, finding out the world's been destroyed. Yeah. Machines rule the world and are trying to kill us. He just lost his 2 little buddies. And has been shot at, blown up, all this other stuff, and now he finds out, oh, I am not human. What?
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Flamethrower saying the machines. We've got the T-800, the T-1000, and the Marcus. Don't forget the T-600, the TX. We got the movie brothers in the chat saying, "Hey guys, just checking in. What's going on, man?
Hey.
What's going on? Nice to see you." I think that's Steven. Myers fan says, I love how the T-800 always claimed to be inferior, but he beat the T-1000 and TX. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That was just to hype it up. Be like, there's no way I could win. And then of course he finally overcomes, kind of like Rocky.
Yeah.
Built tough.
Built tough.
Exactly.
Toyota tough. But
man.
But yeah, so it was a lot of different things. Here's another thing too I wanted to throw out, and I'll let you react to it, both of you guys. Skynet wins. Skynet wins, and what this refers to. Well, no, hold on. Wait a minute, Corey. No, they don't always win. They always lose at the end of these movies. Well, except for T3.
Kinda. Yeah.
But what I was referring to is originally the script. Again, they did a lot of rewrites on this movie, and I think that. In a lot of areas that hurt the movie. One particular area was originally the movie was going to have Connor killed off. I think it was somewhere in the 3rd act. Now, again, this, I believe, was when Christian Bale was supposed to be playing Marcus. Okay, so follow me for a second here. Then Marcus's character was supposed to kill Kate, Blair, and Reese. Okay, at the end of the movie, like that's what was supposed to happen, a big like shocker, stinger type of thing. And I guess what had happened is information about this got leaked online, and the fandom was totally pissed off about it. So they immediately got rid of that idea. What do you think of that, Kill, as far as what I just told you, but also how all these rewrites, it just seemed like they were just trying to throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And it's amazing that the movie, with all that being said, the movie still was not a bad movie and very enjoyable in a lot of ways. So what do you think of that, Kill?
I mean, it just goes to show, like, this franchise, just like, Predator or even Alien, they're really just always trying to catch that lightning in the bottle again. They want that T2 lightning, that Aliens lightning, that Predator, that original Predator lightning. And unfortunately, the thing that these execs don't realize is that was a moment in time,
right?
When you didn't have The Matrix, Tron, Blade Runner 2049. You didn't have many other Altered Carbon, so many other great science fiction things going on around you. Books, TV shows, movies, comic books. It's so much more than it was back in that period.
Right.
And they keep
those movies back then were trailblazers.
Exactly. Those movies helped create this huge boom of science fiction, and inspire the new writers and directors and producers. So they're always still trying. Even Predator, God bless Predator, they keep trying. I'm glad that they keep investing the money, because they keep trying, and hopefully this next one
will do right.
Exactly. So.
And before I have you answer that, Coriander, just to get back to the chat, we got my man Mac, smacked by the Mac, who's in the chat. What's going on, Mac? It's always good to see you, man. Good to see you. And Eric also says, but sometimes you need to stick to your guns and not always listen to the fandom, because you'll never please everyone. Very true. Yeah, it's very true. I want to get to the good stuff too, man, because I think one of the best things about it was, and Mick G was the director, one of the best things that he did was he wanted to go old school. And when you want to go to old school, there's one guy, when you're talking about Terminator stuff, that you need to talk to and have on your team, and that was the late, great Stan Winston. And he basically went to Stan Winston and said, I want everything built. I want all these machines built. They built all of those Terminators, those Moto Terminators. They got in touch with Ducati, the motorcycle people.
Those were so cool.
Yeah, they were cool. And these are the things that I really enjoyed about it. The Harvester Terminator, the big Harvester Terminator, really cool stuff. They wanted to make the T600s to be kind of bulky and not as smooth as Arnold's series, and that was cool too, because those 600s that were like the Sentries, they just looked like robots. They moved like robots, and they were kind of a little crusty and blackened, and they talked about how, well, they would be like that, after the nuclear fallout, and because they're just Sentries, they're just out there just doing what they do. They're not new off of the line like the T800s were being. So they really did take the time to think about the physicality of this world, and I really appreciated it. Everything looked good, special effects wise, in this movie, with the machines and the Terminators and the Moto Terminators and everything, except the only thing that was the downfall, and of course this was 2009, but obviously the scene where they have Arnold come in, the T800, obviously they weren't able to really perfect that effect. But for 2009, it wasn't bad. I'm gonna tell you what, and I don't know if you remember, Kel, but in the theater, when that scene came up, people started cheering. Man, matter of fact, let me play this real quick, because I have it. I gotta play it real quick. Hold on one second. Here we go. They even played the music. So anyways,
I truly didn't think the CG was that bad.
It's not, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Because we all know that that's not Arnold, but I gotta say, they truly looked at his physicality from that original movie, the way his hair was in that original movie, and they did a pretty decent job.
I did have a friend, we were in the theater, I did have a friend that said, wait a minute, is that Arnold? And it took about, 3 seconds. And then it was like, no, that's not. It's a good try though. But I think it was pretty good for what it was.
Hell, I know some people that was their favorite part of this movie.
It was a great
yeah,
call.
the only
It
part
really,
of this movie
really
I
was.
liked was the CG.
Well, it was a cool callback because it kind of like
It
now
connects.
it's connecting it all, and Arnold. What did you think of that scene, Coriander?
Oh boy. Do you really want me to say what I think? No.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you think of it?
You know, I didn't mind that Arnold wasn't in this, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you saw something that looked like him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did I feel that he had to be in it and be there and do that? No. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, whatever. It is what it is.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's all right. I mean, no, he didn't have to be in it because the movie was structured around so many other things other than him. I think they
Exactly.
did that. I think they just did that as a callback. Plus, the other thing I will say, and it made sense for him to be shown there, was the movie was based upon the fact that now, and it said it in the opening crawl, the information they were putting on the screen, that Skynet has now has the technology to develop the T-800 series, which is a better infiltration unit, blah, 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 blah. So we were seeing, quote unquote, the future coming to pass because we know that once the 800s are created, eventually they'll send an 800 back in time to kill Sarah Connor. So I think, that was kind of a big sticking point to this movie because that's what Christian Bale as Connor finds in the beginning of the movie. And you saw the look on his face. He's like, yeah, I know what's going to happen now. Because every other Terminator before that, you could spot them, because they were easy to spot and therefore you would never be taken by surprise. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good callback. Myers fan says, I've always had a theory that the T-800 was modeled after a person. Perhaps we'll learn that in a future film. Oh, it sure was. And I think, geez, Kill, I think we're going to be talking about that next week, I believe, right? Because there is a thing about the T-800 was modeled after a real person, and maybe we'll talk about that in our next episode. I don't want to give away stuff that we're going to be talking about, but yeah, stay tuned, dude. Stay tuned. Brian was saying, I like the fact that you are seeing the future. That was that was the best part about it, the special effects and the fact that you're seeing the future war. I think that was the big strength of this movie. And like I said, they seem to take it very serious, and I appreciate that too. Some things just didn't connect as well, and they had a little trouble with the script. So, Movie Brother saying, love McGee as a director, very underrated. P.S. Yep, it's Steven. Okay, man. All right. Let's see. Brian says, was that Helena Bonham Carter there? Yes. She had the role as the Cyberdyne scientist. Eric says, CGI Arnold face wasn't horrible. Could have been better, but it wasn't horrible. Love that scene regardless. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. People would, man, like I said, people in my theater, they're like, yes! It was cool, man. I'm not going to lie. And Eric says another callback I enjoy is when we see how John Connor got his facial scar. Yeah, and me and Coriander were talking about that. That was, again, they knew what they did their homework. And I appreciated that quite a bit. But Kill, I'll throw it to you then, Coriander. Anything else that you want to throw out as far as what they got right in the movie? Or
the feeling of humanity hanging on by a string. Mm-hmm. The future war stuff for the most part. The John Connor in this, I mean, he's a soldier, and I know that John Connor from the third movie to now, him and Kate, they were in a bunker, they came out of the bunker, and he apparently got in with the resistance and got even more training and became more grizzled. But I still feel his portrayal of John Connor in this was not the best, and you've shed light on why it's not, because it's not his movie, it's Marcus's movie. And I just feel that they didn't write enough for him, and he was very one note. But I enjoyed seeing all the different types of Terminators, and it's weird, just like a robot would think, I am going to build a Terminator for every occasion. The Moto Terminators are connected to Devastator. The giant Terminator.
That was good.
That's a Transformers reference, kids. Constructobots. No, connected to the Harvester Terminator. So that, and the Harvester's like, oh, they're getting away. Let me launch, these two Moto Terminators. So every type of Terminator, even the fish ones that were in the water with the with the face hugger
you weren't safe
mouth.
anywhere.
No, they thought of everything. Like, okay, we got you in the sky with the hunter killers. We got you under the ground with the piranha mouth ones. We got you on the road with the moto ones. You're screwed, dude. We got the harvester ones to harvest you so we can perfect, growing flesh to put over our infiltration unit ones. Right. So I enjoyed seeing all that. I enjoyed seeing that the Terminators weren't just killing everyone, they also were capturing them and experimenting on them. So that even makes it even more diabolic and scary, because that adds a new layer of horror. Like, oh my God, what are you doing to these humans? Why do you want them? Yeah. So once again, the one thing I could say about this film, and I'm sorry if I keep talking, I think I like this film, but it's so weird. Like, it's and I just finished rewatching this about an hour before the show, and I was like, man, that was like a roller coaster ride of emotions of shit and awesome, shit awesome, shit awesome, and it's right there on the cusp of being shit, but I like it. Yeah, and we've talked about that so much. Yeah. We got Trenchy in the chat too, saying, "Hey, what's up? What's up, man? Good hey, Trenchy. Good to see you there." Eric saying, "What they got right: Sam Worthington and Anton Yelchin. Great action takes place in the future after Judgment Day. What they got wrong: Bale as Connor and the twist with Marcus." All right. Trenchy saying, "This is one of the most underrated and important movies in the franchise because it shows us how John got the trench and trust." Oh. Yeah, I don't know that. Trusted enough to send a Terminator. Oh, got entrenched. Got it. Okay, and trusted enough to send a Terminator back in time to protect himself. All right. And then Brian was saying, "Is that Bryce Dallas Howard there?" Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is. She played Kate. But Coriander, anything else that you think that they got right, or that you also enjoyed with the movie? Or what did you think of the finale when Marcus sacrificed himself?
Like I said, Marcus, he really showed a lot of humanity, and the fact that he was saying, you know what, take my heart, give it to him. It's like, oh my God, how could you not want a Marcus, honestly? So I enjoyed this movie, it sucks that John Connor was portrayed the way he was, but hey, for what it was, like I said, I don't think it was like a bad installment to this franchise, because you got to see the future war, you got to see things that I didn't think that I would be seeing, because this was the first time I saw this, so I didn't mind it, honestly. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Eric was saying, it's okay to like this movie, Killian. You don't have to love a movie just because it's a Terminator film. A like is still a like. Oh yeah. True enough. Trenchy says, got the idea to send a Terminator back in time to protect him. Not then spell check error, my bad. Okay. Gotcha, man. Confusing the hell out of me, man. I'm just messing with you. But no, this movie was not a bad movie. It had some really good parts. I think the idea of what they wanted to do was a good idea. Even James Cameron, right from the beginning, when McGee kind of got in touch with them, and Cameron didn't really give his blessing or say, hey, don't do it. But he did say the next film to make is the war. That would be the logical next step. So everybody kind of knew that this is the way it had to go. And I'm glad that that's what they did, because it was some good stuff. He said he was inspired by Mad Max. He was inspired by Blade Runner. He was inspired by Star Wars. We could see a lot of those things in the movie, especially in Coriander. That one scene when Connor gets to Skynet, and it was kind of this overview of the buildings with the flames coming up. The first thing you said was Blade Runner, and I was like, yeah, it is. Good for you, man. But
that was a cool scene.
It was, yeah. The sets were phenomenal. You know, the Terminators were phenomenal, and everything was built. You know, they didn't want to do a lot of CG and stuff like that, so I can respect that. So good installment, faltered in some places, but you know, like I said, it's an interesting conversation to have. So that's pretty much what we think of Terminator Salvation. For you guys in the chat, please remember to give the video a like. That would help us out and support the channel. But probably more importantly, in the comment section, let us know what you thought Terminator Salvation got wrong and what they got right. What are some of your favorite scenes? What did you think about John Connor as he was portrayed? What did you think about Marcus? What did you think about the twist? Let us know, and we can continue the discussion in the comment section. So that'd be really, really cool. And if you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, please do so. That would be awesome. Brian, as usual, saying, shared it on Facebook, Night. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you're always there to support, man. We appreciate it. Movie Brothers, Steven saying, great show, guys, as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Quasi saying, I felt like the producers didn't know whether to be an action movie or a horror movie like the previous 3 movies. Yeah, they definitely had some issues going back and forth. But, you know, I think all that being said, it actually makes it almost more amazing that the movie was pretty decent. You know, it makes you wonder, well, geez, if they had gotten that script tighter.
Right, and who wants to keep seeing like the same thing? I'm so glad that it was different, you know, and that we're not seeing the same thing over and over. So
yeah, absolutely. Before we head on out, Myers fan says, can someone please explain Skynet to me? I don't quite understand what it is. You want to take that one, Kill?
Okay. Well, Skynet essentially was, I guess, a Defense Department program that was so intelligent it became sentient. And it pretty much said, okay, well, for me to save humanity, I have to kill them because humans are their own worst enemies. And it's at a time when you have so many countries that have nuclear warheads here and there. So Skynet just said, well, I'm going to take control of all of the nukes, and I'm going to launch the nukes from Russia on America and the American ones on Russia and here and there. And, you know, essentially, yeah, pretty much, because humans exactly, and humans inherently kill one another. We are our own predators, you know. And essentially Skynet being sentient, it kept growing and growing and creating more and more robots to do its bidding, to more efficiently kill humans, and just iterating on them time and time again, and also creating time travel because it's a robot. It can create anything. And so that is Skynet in under a minute. Boom.
There you go. Boom. Eric saying, great stream. Can't wait until next week. Holds the torch. Yeah, next week. Next week's gonna be fun.
Coriander, you like different? No. You like different? You like change? Oh, we got some change for you.
But is it change?
But is it? Well, it's like I mean, it is. Hey. But then again, it isn't.
Well, okay. Well,
it's okay, guys. Come on now.
Hey. All right.
You're making me like dread this, and I don't know why.
No, I can say this, and I know we keep saying we're about to head out. We are, guys. If you guys got to leave, that's fine. But I will say this, and I think Kill will agree. All of these movies are enjoyable to a certain extent. You know, I mean, you know, well, okay. We'll see what happens next week.
That's all you have to say. Shit. Okay.
All right, guys. So we'll catch you guys later. Hey, Coriander, this is what I was talking about earlier when we were catching the movie. There was something I got from this movie, and it's kind of how I end this show every time.
Oh, I know.
This is John Connor. If you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Resistance. You are the Night Watch. Peace out. Catch you guys later.
Peace.